Well, this is getting started. How many of you guys are actual streamers in this room? Now, how many of you are, of those streamers, keep your hands up, how many have been streaming for a while? So how many are relatively new? Okay, now how many are here just because they're interested in starting streaming? Wow, all right, cool, awesome. Good stuff. Well, I'm Matt. You guys can call me Mel. I go by MelaciousSmel on my Twitch channel. I'm going to have a PowerPoint at some point for you guys. And if not, we'll just wing it. So, sounds like they were having some Wi-Fi connection problems here a minute ago. Thank you, my man. All right, making progress here. Let's see. Okay. How many people here are creative streamers? Anybody? Few? Okay, awesome. And how many are character streamers? 1, 2, oh, awesome, sweet. How many of you guys play a single game? How about the rest of you? You variety streamers? A few variety streamers? Okay. Hey, Green, we may need to get the tech guys back in here. If we can get somebody, run out and grab them. Yeah, network's struggling. Struggle bus.
They're talking about you in chat.
Are they? Yeah, I bet they are, man. Like, guy can't even get his PowerPoint up. What the heck?
Just stream it.
Hey, actually, this is live right now, so congratulations, you're all on camera. Putting you to work whether you know it or not. This is actually one giant surprise co-stream with all you guys, so. All right.
So sorry.
Okay, I think I got it. 8th time is the charm. Okay, we're good for now. Hey, there we go. Awesome. All right. Fantastic. Okay, so real quick, are we sounding good down there? Live crew? Good? Awesome. All right, so like I said, my name is Matt. I go by MelaciousMel or just Mel. The nickname I had this before I even started streaming, just kind of added the malicious on there. And today I'm going to be talking about getting started as a small streamer. So we're going to divide this up into 3 parts. I'm going to try to run for about 40 minutes, well, probably less now. And then I'll take questions at the end from both the live chat and you guys here. So definitely keep those in mind as I go along. And we're going to talk about 3 different categories. We're going to talk about hardware and software, just kind of a brief overview of things you're probably going to want to look at if you're getting started or if you've already started. We're going to talk about the characteristics of a successful streamer, things that you need to do and know to get notoriety. And then finally, we're going to talk about community outreach, kind of the do's and don'ts, things to do, things to avoid, stuff of that nature. So part 1, the hardware and software. People ask me this a lot of time. They say, hey, Mac or PC? It's PC. Like, it's just, I think a lot of you gamers here probably already go with PC, but PC is going to give you the most bang for your buck. You're going to want to look at an i7. I usually say between an i5 and an i7, but definitely an i7. If you have the money for an i9, kudos to you. But that's going to provide you with the best processing power for all the different things you're going to do, especially if you're going with a single PC setup for streaming. Like, let's say there's a lot of partner streamers out there that recommend 2 computers. You have one that handles the load of your game and the other that handles the load of your stream. In a perfect world, that'd be awesome, but most people are rocking one setup. That's what I rock, and so an i7 is going to give you the best processing. 16 gigabytes of RAM. I had 12 on there because that's what I roll with. And one of our tech guys said, no, 16. 16 is the bread and butter above. You can use a laptop, but it's going to need to be a high-end laptop. I'm talking like $3,000 or more for streaming. I tried streaming with a laptop originally with my channel, and it was not the best quality. And honestly, with a tower build, you're going to get the option to upgrade parts as needed for your stream, for your gaming, and it's just more versatile. Mic and headphones. So typically, I see streamers use condensers or dynamics. I use a condenser mic, but I'm probably going to switch to a dynamic at some point. Condensers require a little bit more of a controlled setting, a quieter setting. They're very sensitive, so certain sounds within the room can be heard very easily on a condenser mic, whereas a dynamic mic is rated for more of a loud environment. Like, somebody going around interviewing, like at this convention, would probably use a dynamic mic. If you do a lot of screaming, like how I do with my stream, you're going to probably want a dynamic mic so you don't overload the frequencies. XLR, USB. USB is definitely the easiest to grab. If you're just starting off, USB is a fine setup. It's plug and play, so you grab it and you go. XLR, though, is going to give you the better quality, and it's going to require a little bit more of a setup, though. You're going to want an audio interface that plugs into your computer. It's going to be a little bit more money, but that's what you want to eventually work towards. That's what I ended up getting. I have a Focusrite Scarlett setup. It's a little audio interface, plugs right in my computer, and then I can put my XLR condenser microphone right into that. It's also going to be the better route. An audio interface is going to be the better route if you end up doing multiple mics on a stream. Podcast, and you got to have mics for 2 to 4 people. You're going to want an XLR setup. Game capture devices. Obviously, there's a lot out there. They're used to capture console. How many people are console streamers in here? I didn't ask that question. A few? Just a few? Okay, awesome. So I dabble with both. I do PC and console. I started with PC, kind of added console in when I can. Console is an interesting beast, especially if you've ever streamed a Switch. A Switch, there's no voice chat with that unless you get the app. So you've got to do all this crazy stuff if you're playing with friends. But there's internal, external varieties for game capture. Obviously, the older one is the Halpog series. I have an HD PVR2. It used to be big. It's no longer. It was replaced by Elgato, which is kind of the industry standard right now as far as streaming goes. The external devices are usually the ones that are a little bit cheaper, easier to get. They're a box that sits off to the side, plugs into your computer, much like an audio interface. You then plug the HDMI from your console into said device, then into the TV, and it runs everything into the computer, and you can capture it from there. The better setup is to have an internal device, which is going to be like your HD60 Pro capture card. It's an actual card that connects to your motherboard. It's in your PC, so there's not all this extra crap that you got to plug in. You just plug the HDMI from your console into your PC, route it back to your monitor, and then everything is captured. Let's see. Cameras. So cameras are optional. How many people use cameras? Okay. So it's not required. You don't have to do it. In fact, there's a lot of people that don't do it. If anybody's familiar with the YouTuber H2 Delirious, his big thing is that nobody's seen his face. Now, I think technically people have seen his face, but his thing is like, oh yeah, nobody knows what I look like. So you definitely don't need a camera. In fact, if that's something you can't afford or it's something you just don't feel like setting up, then it's good to go without a camera. Sometimes maybe you're a little more talkative when you're not on camera. If you do get one, you're going to want to get like something of 1080 quality, and there is a Logitech one. It's like the 9 something. Boom, 920. So that one is what I use, and it's not 60 frames, but honestly you don't need 60 frames. And there are ones out there, but it's a relatively inexpensive camera. When I bought it, it was like $79. I think it's dropped down to 50 or below, and it's good quality. I've been using it for the last 2 years and have had no issues with it. Now, people will ask, well, hey, if you're not a partner, you're only streaming to Twitch at 720p. Why do I need a 1080p camera? It's just something good to have that quality available, especially if you're going to do like videos to YouTube or other sources where you can actually utilize that full 1080p. It's good to have because content sharing is going to be important for streaming too, and we'll get to that part later. Green screen. So obviously, if you're not using a camera, you're not going to need a green screen. But if you are using a camera, it's good to have that because you can add some customization to your stream. Like for example, I have a green screen behind me because I have overlays that I created myself, and I wanted to have them fully functioning, and so it's just my silhouette, well, not silhouette, but my body cut out, and then I have everything enveloped around me. And it's just a clean, professional look, in my opinion. But there are other people out there that, they have cool art and stuff set up in their rooms. So they're like, hey, I want to show that off. They just do a normal camera, and then they kind of box out their screen and have it on their stream. So it's kind of user preference, but definitely I recommend green screen to get that real professional look. And it's pretty easy to make them. I made one from parts at Walmart for 40 bucks. I made 2 of them, and I put them together next to each other, and it was like 40 bucks. You get, I'm trying to remember. I meant to actually bring it and do a DIY with you guys here, but unfortunately I forgot it. And so basically what it is like a clothes hanger, like one of those movable clothes hangers with a, I think it's a green, like a lime green window shade or whatever, just hung down over it. It's like super easy to do, and it's awesome. It works great. So people are often like, oh man, that sounds like really expensive. I don't think I could get that, but you can make it yourself. It's really easy. Lighting is going to come into effect with a green screen. You got to have good lighting, otherwise the quality is not going to be there. Typically you want around 3 lights. I work with 1 because my desk is kind of in a cramped spot in my room. But what you're going to want to have is 3 lights. Typically you want 2 in front of you facing in like this, and you're going to want 1 behind you that's kind of lighting up the green screen, and that's going to give you the best range of visuals there. So like I said, you don't need it obviously if you don't have a camera, but if you do have a camera and you're rocking the green screen, lighting is going to be very important. Again, not super expensive. I found a lighting kit on Amazon for maybe 20 bucks. So it's not, none of this stuff is really going to break the bank as far as production. Now as you get bigger, obviously you're going to want the better quality things, and that's going to get expensive. But for starting off, completely plausible to get this stuff and look super professional. Softwares, capturing software. There's a bunch of different capturing softwares out there. I typically use OBS Studio. I know a lot of people use XSplit. That's going to be important for obviously streaming your channel. It's a little bit, if you're just doing PC gaming, it's pretty easy to do. You just do a video or you do a game capture, or if that's not working, because sometimes it doesn't work in OBS, you do a window or screen capture, and you're good to go. For console streaming, it's going to be a little bit intensive because you've got to, if you're doing the internal or external, you're going to have a separate program that pops up that you've got a window capture to the OBS, and then stream it, and then you've got to delay your sound settings to match up with the console stream, because there is going to be a delay there. With OBS Studio, it's a little bit easier, at least for my HD PVR2. If you go into creating a video streaming, like you would for your actual webcam, it actually recognizes the HD PVR2 as a video source, and so it automatically pulls it up. You don't have to do a window capture of a separate program or whatever. It does it all through OBS Studio. If you're not using OBS Studio, obviously if you're using XSplit, that's fine, but if you're using the original OBS, I recommend switching to Studio because they have the transition features that are really going to add an awesome professional look. We'll answer them at the end. Question? Yeah, I got you at the end. But it's going to add, again, another level of professionalism to your stream that's going to be really important. All right, so part two, this is probably my favorite part of this, this speech. It's going to be a little bit more fun. And this is characteristics of a successful streamer. How many here have played Fallout? Fallout 4, any of the Fallouts? Okay, so you're familiar with the Pip-Boy and the special acronym. Boom. What makes you special? Strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. Brought to you by Voltec. So the first thing is strength. You got to roll with the punches, all right? You got to learn to take criticism the right way, and whether it be constructive or negative. Look, I've posted stuff, and I've had people say that I suck, that I'm garbage, to get good, stuff like that. And you can't take that stuff too seriously. I actually watched a guy stream one time. I'm going to leave his name out of this, but he had a very, very toxic chat. And you know, it was his own fault because he didn't moderate his chat at all. He just kind of let him roam free. He didn't have any rules in place or anything like that. So there was a lot of terrible stuff being said. I was like, holy crap. And he paused his game and immediately started bashing his chat, saying they were the reason he was doing bad and all this stuff. He just like completely threw his own chat under the bus, and that is not what you do if you're planning on being a successful streamer. If you want to keep a loyal community, you definitely don't take them and throw them under the bus and use them as an excuse for your own inability to play a game. So it's very important to keep a level head and understand that some people are not going to like you, some people are, and you just got to roll with that. You need to understand that it's going to take a lot of hard work, and that's going to require time and effort that you maybe didn't realize it was going to take. I think a lot of people look at streaming and they're like, look at all these guys playing video games. Video games is easy. I play video games every night. I can stream. And then they get in it and they realize, holy crap, this is a little bit harder than I thought. So, perception. So perception, it's really good to have a plan. Going into streaming, if you don't have a plan, you're not going to get very far. You got to have an idea of what your goals are, what your target audience is. What kind of games are you going to be playing? What about you is going to have people stay? You know, you got to think of the different ways that you can be unique, the different ways that you can hold people's attention. Understand the progress that you want to make with your channel. Like, hey, is my idea to do this for fun, or is my idea to try and make partner? And then set up a plan for that. It's really important to have these kind of questions floating in your mind so that you can address them as you go along, because otherwise you have no direction. You're just spinning in a circle. Endurance. Rome wasn't built in a day. I think everybody's heard that saying. And you need to understand that it takes time to build the following. I've only been streaming for 2 years. I've been in the content creation business for 4, but I've only been streaming to my Twitch account for 2 years, and I have a little over 200 followers. So not a lot, but I'm making solid progress. Obviously, I'm here speaking to you guys. It takes time to build an audience, and one that actually, you know, a loyal community. It takes time to build that. You don't want just a bunch of generic viewers, a bunch of lurkers. You want people that are engaging you in your chat and stuff like that, because that's important. That's what other groups like Twitch, when they're looking for partners, they look at how active your streams are every day. If it's just a bunch of people watching and nobody talking, those could be bots. You know, they don't know. So it's important to understand that it's going to take some time to get all this set up and to be patient. Charisma. So you got to have charisma. You know, looks aren't everything. And actually, there was a streamer, somebody else told me this story, and I wish that I could remember the streamer's name. It was a female, and she said, you know, in regards to female streamers, because there's a lot of people, unfortunately, out there that say, oh, well, the reason I can't get views is all these female streamers that are out there, like, hogging the limelight and stuff like that, and I can't get good and blah, blah, blah. The thing about streaming is skills, looks, and channel design will only get you so far. One of those items will only get you so far. You have no personality, eventually you'll plateau. If you are only good at a game, but your quality sucks, you can't talk to people, and just everything else is lacking in your channel, you will only get so far. You only get so far before people are like, he's okay, but Ninja's way better, man. He's crazy. I mean, he's yelling and screaming, he's got cool overlays, and he's good at the game. I mean, he has the trifecta, and this guy is just good at the game. Or somebody's like, oh man, that's a really attractive looking guy. I think I'll watch him. And then it's like, oh well, his personality sucks, so I think I'm gonna take my business elsewhere. Oops. Viewers like an entertainer. They like somebody that's going to be engaging during the stream with them, that's going to make light of a situation, that's going to actually, address them and talk to them in the chat. If they're asking questions or if they're making comments, they like when you are there actually, repping them, kind of making them feel like they are part of the stream. That's the whole point of the live streaming chat, is to have those people actually a part of the stream that you're doing by calling out things that they say. A good thing to, with charisma, a good thing you need to practice is being more engaging, public speaking. A lot of people, they go into streaming, they don't have a very strong public speaking. There might be some of you in here that feel like your public speaking could be a little bit better. And that just takes practice. I mean, it took me a while to get kind of where I am. And as you can see, sometimes I could probably use a little bit more practice. But public speaking, I mean, things you can do, just talk and comment on stuff that's happening in the game. Just talk to the chat, things of that nature. Discuss relevant topics that might stimulate chatter in the chat. Just do things that will garner a response from people, and that will help you practice. Definitely you want to work on facial expressions. If you're just sitting there like this the whole time, like, yeah guys, welcome to my stream, oh this is crazy. Or maybe you're like super, you're like, oh man, look at that, oh shit, okay, so there's a guy over here, I'm gonna shoot. You're loud, but your face is monotone. It's just completely dead the entire time. Well, there's no expression there. People don't get an idea for who you are as a streamer, so it's good to like have expressions, like, if something scares you, whoa, instead of just sitting there like, whoa. So it's good to, it's good to have facial expressions to kind of be a little bit, crazy there at times. I mean, if you look at a lot of the popular streamers, I mean, again, I use Ninja simply because he is at the top of Twitch right now. He's a very out there guy. I mean, if you watch any of his videos, he definitely has a lot of expression in him. So don't be shy. Don't be shy. I mean, it's just that's a very minimal thing to say. That's kind of like a condensed version of everything on this particular panel. So. Intelligence, research. So everything that I'm talking about now, I did extensive research to find out. When I was starting, I was constantly looking at other people, what they were doing with their streams. If I'm playing a particular game, I'm looking at details on that game of how I can play better. Like, if I'm playing PUBG, what are some of the strats to PUBG? Whoa, that's not good. Oh God. Research, hey, if I'm doing a presentation, should I plug in my laptop and have it powered up all the way? Here, let's do that real quick. In the middle of a live stream, ladies and gentlemen. See, this is part of that strength thing where you got to roll with the punches. Things don't always work the way you intend them to. So, but anyway, I'm going to keep talking here. I'm going to multitask. That's a good thing to learn too, multitasking. Yeah, so you definitely want to seek other people out for guidance. You're not always going to get honest answers from folks. But it's good to kind of ask the questions like, hey man, what could I be doing with this? How could I improve upon this? Take notes, have a notebook, have like an online Google Doc or something that you list all the stuff on that you need to know about. And geez. All right, my multitasking's failing. This stuff happens a lot to streamers. Who here has technical difficulties all the time when you stream? Yeah? I know it's more than that. Raise your hand. Come on. Yeah, there we go. A few of you didn't answer the first time. It happens. It happens a lot. Okay. Just whipping everything out of this box. You got me? Ladies and gentlemen, green cord. Oh, there it goes. Here. Quick!
You got memorized.
Tell you what, I'll pull it up on my phone and keep talking. So we're going to talk about luck at the end of this. I have the worst luck. I have the worst luck. That's just something you can never, like, oh gosh. All right, boom. Okay, how are we doing on time here? All right, I think we're rocking and rolling. All right, agility. So this is going to come into, probably the hardest thing was kind of differentiate between endurance and agility. Agility is going to come more with the actual pace of your stream. How many of you guys stream late at night? Anybody? A few of you? That can be, sometimes, that can be tough. It can be tough to stream late at night, especially when you've had a full day, to keep the momentum going. You know, even if the chat is mostly, and that's another thing, chats can sometimes be empty. It's not necessarily that you're doing a bad job, it's just, you know, people they're not coming out at that particular time. And even when the chat is mostly or completely or entirely empty, try to be no less engaging than you would be if there were like 100 people there. So it's good to practice just talking to yourself, as crazy as that sounds. You will look like a crazy person, but you're already on stream, so it doesn't matter. If you practice that, like, you know, start coming up with questions that you might ask somebody that if they were there, just like, oh, you know, it'd be cool to talk about this. Just talk as if there's people in your chat, and then eventually when people show up, they're seeing that you're already being engaging, and they're more likely to jump into the chat and join you. It's a good practice. It's a good thing to do, and then it'll make it easier when you start to get a higher number of people showing up to your streams. Make sure you're well rested, well caffeinated before you start streaming. Especially for long ones. If you're doing a charity event that's going to go for 24 hours or 48 hours or 70 hours, holy crap. Yeah, you're going to want to, all the way to death, you're going to want to be well caffeinated. Grab a Monster or something, or some tea, I don't know. But the more you trail off or lose steam, the more you're going to notice that in your chat. So even if you start at the beginning of your stream with a lot of people, if you start to trail off, they're going to start to trail off. You'll see people leave. You'll see people asking less questions. So it's good to try and keep the practice of keeping that momentum all the way through your stream from start to finish. You want to be just as engaging at the beginning as you were at the end, as you are at the end. And then finally, luck. We saw a little example of luck just a second ago when this computer died on me. While you can do all of this and more, sometimes all you need is that one big break. Sometimes people get lucky in the content that they post. They see a massive spike in the channel activity. This is why it's always important to post your content, share your content. Something that I actually need to work on more is sharing like highlights and clips and custom videos that I've edited to the different social medias, because that is how you're going to get other people to come and show up, because not everybody is sitting there watching Twitch at any given time. So how are they going to know to come to your channel? You've got to promote yourself a little bit. And you just, honestly, sometimes it's just luck. Like, you know, there's some videos that'll be more popular than others. It just depends on the tags. It depends on who's interested in what at any given time. So and that kind of ties into the next section, which we're going to roll through really fast because I want to have time for questions. And that is the community outreach, the do's and don'ts. So promotion, obviously you're going to want to use social media. So think of social media, or think of the internet as this flow of information, a river, right? And every so often there's this shallow area where people come to kind of drink from the fountain of information. It's a watering hole, if you will. This is your hunting ground. You are a carnivorous animal trying to get the people's attention through these watering holes. This is where you're going to want to go. That's what social media is. Twitter, Facebook, what have you. That's going to be where you're going to want to post all of your stuff. Reddit is a great source too. 4 important notes: post, like, follow, and tag. Obviously, right? I mean, it goes without saying. But people kind of do this, they can do this the wrong way, you know? You need to make sure that you post often and to multiple sources. Now, I don't mean post the same thing over and over and over again, because let's say somebody's following you on all social media. If they see the same post over and over again, they're gonna be like, this is a generic guy, he doesn't give a crap. They're less likely to be engaging. Especially if somebody, like let's say you're part of multiple Facebook communities and other people are too, and they see your same post on every single different community, the same thing over and over again. They're like, this guy's just copy pasting. He's not putting any time or effort into anything. Do a unique post for each of the social media sites that you go to. Post content that is relevant to your channel and community, obviously. Like relevant posts and pages, follow relevant people and pages, include relevant tags. All stuff that has to do with whatever video you're trying to promote or whatever your channel is about. If you're a creative streamer, do not post stuff about your channel that is for gaming, unless you're doing gaming. You know, you want to get the right people coming to your stuff. Remember that you are representing your brand. Big mistake I see people make all the time is not taking themselves seriously or not taking the situation they find themselves in seriously. Whether you realize it or not, you are representing yourself as a brand. And much like a workplace, anything you say and do online can affect the community's outlook upon you. There are actually a few streamers. Obviously, there is, what is that guy's name? Logan Paul is a good example for those of you that are familiar with the stuff going on with him. But I've actually met streamers that have run into this. You know, I've seen streamers lose contracts with people based off of stuff they did online. They were posting a little bit too much personal things to their different social medias that were tied to their channel, and folks that they were partnered with lost interest and got rid of them. I mean, it's a very serious thing. I don't think enough people realize the dangers of using social media inappropriately, especially when you're representing yourself as a brand. You want to try to avoid drama, try to avoid personal stuff, try to avoid politics. I mean, you know, that's a touchy subject anywhere you go. It's just, I mean, if you're passionate about it, I guess, hey, you've got your personal social media for that. But to be perfectly honest, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I find it best to be as bland as possible with your own projects. And then avoid confrontation with others. I mean, if somebody's talking smack about you, try not to stoop down to their level. I mean, obviously they have beef, leave them alone. But the more that you engage them and stoop to that level, the worse you're going to look, ironically. Streaming communities, groups, guilds, and sponsors. This can be both a great and dangerous way to grow your channel. Obviously, part of growing your channel is community outreach. You actually got to get out there and talk to people. You have to sit in these conversations and meet some. In fact, when y'all leave, I implore some of you guys to maybe like introduce yourselves to each other, since you're all streamers here. Most of you are streamers here, and kind of just boom, networking right there. Connect with other like-minded content creators, obviously like what we're doing right here. You can trade notes and tips and bolster your own projects. It helps to establish relationships and networking, uplifts any sense of isolationism. You know, if you're kind of shy and you feel like you're just kind of alone in your own little corner, and then all of a sudden you meet all these people who stream the same way you stream, that like the same games as you, that like the same content as you, you feel less alone, and you feel like you're now part of this greater community that's out there. That being said, while streaming communities can be an amazing tool, be careful to avoid generic ones. There are a lot of communities on Facebook especially that are follow for follows. I cannot tell you how bad follow for follow is. Some of you might be surprised to hear that. Avoid follow for follows whenever you can, because what you're doing is you're not building a community for yourself, you're building generic numbers. And I'll be perfectly honest with you guys, when Twitch and other groups look at affiliation and partnership, they're not looking at your numbers. I mean, to an extent, they will notice those, but they are looking for how engaging people are in your active streams. Like I said earlier, if you have a bunch of people watching and nobody's talking in the stream, that reflects poorly upon the stream. It makes people think that these people aren't active, they may not be interested in actually talking to this streamer, they might be bots, they might be, you know, not even real people. So it's important to, I mean, follow for follow, I'm very passionate about that one. I don't like it a lot. I feel like you build just kind of an empty husk of a community because nobody's interested in actually checking each other out. It's like, great, I got a number added to my number, and I don't care about you anymore. There's no incentive for me to follow you doing follow for follow, like, hey, let's exchange follows. Great, I got your number, I'm out of here. There's no incentive for me to go check out his channel or for him to check out my channel. It's a waste of time, in my opinion. You want to be careful for people who have no sense of organization, people that mandate a following. Like, there was a community I was with for a little bit, very good community, the people in it were awesome, but some of the rules were a little bit, I didn't agree with. One of the rules is that everybody in the group had to follow the other members of the group. Well, you know, I may not agree with or enjoy content that one of the other members does. So why should I give them my support? Well, why should I align myself with them if this guy is on his streams being super negative? Why would I put myself in the same category as him? You know what I'm saying? Or her? You don't want to align yourself with people that are going to reflect poorly upon your own stream. Now, I'm not saying people who you think are bad at the game or stuff like that. I'm talking about people that actually project a negative light. You don't want to have that reflected upon your own stream. And so I didn't agree with that. The other problem was there was a little bit too much drama that was brought into that community, and I think that affected it in a negative way. Toxic behavior and feedback. Obviously, if people, all they do is tell you suck 24/7, you don't want to be part of that community. When I was in college, my freshman year of college, I was on the football team, and I had a mentor. They assigned mentors to everybody. And I had a mentor who, I don't know if he just was not happy that he was being a mentor or if he actually hated me, but every single day he told me I should quit. That I should quit, that I was wasting my time, and it was not, let me put this out there, it was not to bolster strength and mental toughness in me. He actually wanted me to quit every single day. It was like a game at some point. There are people like that, and like I said, that's where strength comes involved. You got to roll with the punches. But if that's the community where everybody's like that, you don't want to be part of that community. It's not worth anything you would get out of that community, so you avoid those. What to look for in a good group. We touched on some of that, but we'll go through the list right here. A clear set of rules. You want a group that has expectations, that people follow. You want a group that cares about and is active with its members. I am actually a sponsored streamer with True Gaming, and obviously I'm a little biased, but they're a really good community. I mean, if you go into their Discord, there are a ton of people. We got some members over here. There are a ton of people that are talking to each other back and forth. They're like, hey, you want to game this, you want to game that. Not necessarily everybody's a streamer, but everybody's a fan. And constantly trading notes back and forth, whether it's just day-to-day stuff, joking around, or actual stuff about video games. There's different sections where you can actually get help on streaming, stuff of that nature. That's the kind of stuff you want to look for in a community. You want something that's actually going to help you grow, a tool. Non-toxic members, obviously we want to avoid toxic members. We talked about that a little bit. A group that provides feedback to you and direction. If you have questions, you want somebody that answers them. Eagerness to help. I mean, if it's a group who's only interested in having you as a member, like, hey, welcome to our group. Thanks for adding in, again, a number to our following. Yeah, sorry, bye. They're just, that's it. They don't ever talk to you. That's not really helping you. You want people that actually engage with you. And you want somebody that, you want a group that is genuinely open to all types of streamers. Like, I think True Gaming, we have a bunch of different types of streamers. We have IRL streamers. I mean, we have, so we have gaming, we have gamers, obviously. We have creative streamers, we have podcasters, and we have IRL streamers. I think we have one guy that drives a truck, and that's what he streams, and it's awesome. So, I mean, you want a group that's open to the many avenues of streaming that Twitch provides, because it's not just gaming anymore. I know a lot of us are probably like OG followers of Twitch when it was mostly just all gaming. It's expanded. It's expanded to more things now, and we have to recognize that and move forward with that. And that's it. That's all I got for this. I think we've got about 20 minutes for questions. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor to you guys first, and then the people that are online. So let's, I'm going to get you first, since you were raising during the presentation. What's your question?
You talked about green screens, but what about like overlays and Streamlabs and stuff like that?
Yes, so Streamlabs is going to be important. Obviously, it's not something that you need right off the bat, but it's going to be good to set that up, because it'll work with your, if you're doing alerts and stuff of that nature. That's going to add another level of professionalism, and it's going to work really well with your green screen. When you're doing an overlay, if you're creating it yourself, you're going to want to make a design with a transparent background that can lay behind. Obviously you don't want it over you, but behind you, so that it's over top of the green screen, but then it's behind your actual face, so you're enveloped by the said overlay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just curious about, like, I guess.
So you're asking if it's important to have them.
Yeah, combined.
So you can go for a minimalistic approach where you don't have a lot. Like, let's say you're more focused on the gameplay. You don't want to have a bunch of other stuff distracting people from what you're doing. Then a minimalistic approach is going to be great. But if you want something that kind of catches people's eyes, like I'm a graphic designer, so I want to kind of show off my skills a little bit. So I have custom overlays that I made that take up different spots of my view. So it depends on the direction you want to go, but definitely they can be very important towards creating a professional look for your channel. All right, we had a question over here.
It's not really a question, it's helpful thing. For like overlays and stuff like that, you can use Streamlabs OBS. It's not very commonly used.
Yep.
They do have a library full of free overlays, and they've got a lot of plugins from directly Streamlabs, which is like your notifications and stuff like that. So that is really easy for newer streamers to get into streaming. It's basically just OBS with more content. So.
Gotcha. See, look, flow of information, networking. This is why it's important to talk to each other. Somebody knows something more than somebody else, and you can answer each other's questions right here.
To go off of that, actually, another good resource is Nerd or Die is a really good overlay resource. And actually, there's free ones. There's a couple of paid ones, which is usually $2, but it's very good.
Gotcha.
All the time.
Okay, awesome. Okay, any other questions? No, hey, not that I'm hating on, no, that's fantastic. This is what I was talking about with interacting with each other, because there's information that one person may have that somebody else doesn't, and you can swap info. So that's very important. I appreciate both of y'all sharing. Right here.
Let's say that you want to start as a gaming streamer. What would be your first, like, 4 or 5 steps of what to do?
If you're doing games, definitely narrow down. The first thing is how you're going to set up your channel. Are you going to include an overlay? Are you going to have a camera? And then the next step would be, what game are you going to play? Now, and this might answer some questions that are going to be out there. A lot of people ask me, like, hey, what game should I stream? And it really depends. Are you going to be somebody that streams one game? Or are you a wannabe pro, not wannabe in a negative sense, but a wannabe pro Overwatch player, and that's all you're going to stream? Or are you going to be a variety streamer like myself, where you kind of touch a little bit of everything? So it's important to understand that, and then do the research, go to Twitch, and say, hey, what are the top 10 games being played right now? Look at the top 5, and then look at the bottom 5. You're going to want to pick, probably what I say is you pick somewhere in the middle, around 6, because if you pick too high, there's so many people streaming that game that it's oversaturated. You're not going to get as much viewership. If you pick too low, not enough people are playing that game, you're probably going to get lower viewership. You're going to want something in the middle where people are like actively going back and forth between the different streamers. So, and then just some of the other stuff that I talked about in the presentation, being a engaging streamer, actually talking to your chat, things of that nature. Deciding what other hardwares you're going to utilize. Are you going to be console, PCs, things like that? I mean, there's no set 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. It's just those are the things that you want to keep in mind when you're getting started. We had a question all the way in the back, blue shirt.
I just wanted to talk about your community slide and your advice about finding a community that fits with you. I'm a community manager, and like there's so many communities, it's like insane, and you don't have to pick one or be a part of one that you don't like.
Right.
But there's also communities for games, specific.
Yes.
So, just as I guess, a point of interest for you, would you, as a streamer yourself, prioritize an actual streamer group for networking over a community centric around the game that you made?
No. So I'll answer this question. I would keep them kind of at the same level. So specifically for me, I'm a variety streamer. So my audience can vary from game to game. The same people that show up for one game may not show up for another one. So typically what I do is I'm a member of communities for streamers, but then I'm also members of communities for the different games that I play. So for example, Destiny 2, I played that for a little bit before it kind of tanked a little bit. Sorry if you're a fan. And I used to post some highlight videos to those specific Destiny communities to kind of get those people interested in coming out to that game. So it's important to utilize both, the communities for streamers and the communities for individual games. Did that answer your question? Awesome. All right. We had one right here.
Yeah. I was wondering what like tips or tricks you had for getting people like first start out, because I can understand it can be very difficult to get people
Right.
to get into your stream period.
So and it's hard to answer those kind of questions because it's not proven science. There's no finite way. You can, again, social media is going to be your best bet. You can do paid advertising if you have the money for that, but I've heard mixed. Most of you probably aren't in that situation. I'm not even in that situation. So, and I've heard mixed reviews about that. The best thing you're going to do is just reaching out to the different communities. So if you play a certain game, join like 5 communities about that game. Join 5 streaming communities and just start posting there. Now be sure, this is one thing. When you go to these communities and you're posting like, hey, I'm going live, stuff of that nature, do not post just the normal, hey, I'm going live, check me out. Like, there's no incentive to come see you. Actually present a discussion topic. Like, for example, I'll go back to the Destiny communities I was a part of. I posted highlights, and instead of saying like, hey, watch this sweet highlight where I 320 no-scope some guy from across the corner, I said, hey, you know, what do you guys think about the current situation with Destiny, some of the outrage regarding the transactions they've added into new title, and then I posted my video, because now you've presented a discussion topic for people to come in, they watch your video and they're like, oh, that guy's pretty decent, I'll come check out his stream, but then they're also talking to you about the discussion that you brought up. So that's a good way to kind of get people's attention so that they don't just scroll past you as, well, there's another generic guy or girl trying to get attention on their Twitch channel. So that would be the route that I would recommend. Let's do here, what time is it? Okay, we're going to do a few more from the crowd right here.
So you said you make your own overlays, right?
I do, yes.
How do you go about doing that? Like, how do you format it, and like, how do you get it into?
So what I do, because I don't do any kind of 3D or animated stuff, it's just simply 2D images. And like I said, I'm a graphic designer, so I have a program that I use. It's called Affinity Designer. It is a it's a cheaper alternative to the Adobe stuff, because I think right now all of the Adobe stuff is a monthly subscription. It's super expensive. But there's this program, and it's available on both Mac and PC, and it's like a $60 one-time payment, and it has most of the same stuff, the same mechanics as the Adobe things, and that's what I use for all of my stuff. Before, I was using GIMP or GIMP 2. It's a free source, so if you don't have money right now, that's a great free source to use. Definitely watch the tutorials of how to use it, because it can be a little overbearing at first. But I recommend that and Affinity Designer if you're not able to get into Adobe. Let's do one more back here. Can you speak up a little bit?
When you're starting to stream, how important is it to already have a particular level of expertise in the content that you're...
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Yeah, no. I tell you what, I invite any of you guys to go to my YouTube channel, which I don't use currently. I have some stuff that I've uploaded from recent streams. Go to my YouTube channel and look at the stuff that I used to create in 2014. It is atrocious. It is honestly terrible. It is probably some of the worst video editing I've ever seen in my life, and I did it. So you know, it's not so much about having an amazing quality when you start off, because you're going to gradually improve your quality as you learn more things. The important thing is to start and get yourself going, and as you go, like, I'm very hyper, like I critique myself a lot on stuff, so I'm constantly looking at what I can improve upon with all of my things. If you take that mindset into it, then you're going to continuously be able to improve yourself as you go forward. So no, it's not important to have like a professional level right off the bat, because you're eventually going to get there from all the stuff that you learn. I think we've got about 10 minutes left, so I want to go into questions from people watching from home. So do we have any of those? Are you going to bring them to me? Yep. You're not going to read them out to me, man?
Why don't you read them?
Okay. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so I got a question here. Would you show growth goals in your stream? This is from Silent Ghost 73. Would you show growth goals in your stream, or would you prefer to keep them out of the overlay and keep them to yourself? It all depends on, I mean, honestly, I've seen it. I've seen people have like a progress bar up, and it's like, hey, I'm trying to get to this goal. You know, when you actually, that's actually a good idea to do. If you make your community a little bit more a part of what you're trying to do, like let's say, hey guys, I'm looking to get to like 500 followers. If you actually have an overlay set up that shows the progress and you get your own community excited about helping you reach that goal, like maybe you have a reward at the end for somebody or something like that, that's a great way to actually get people talking about your channel, because then not only are you promoting your channel, but you have your own fans going out and saying, hey, come check this guy out. He's trying to reach this goal, and it's like, hey, if I get to 500 followers, I'll sing and dance on my stream, you know? It's like, hey, if you help this guy get to 500 followers, he's gonna do some crazy dance or something like that. You know, that's actually a good way to get people excited about your channel. Let's see, another one. Okay, that question we already answered actually. Let's see, I'm scrolling through these here. Let's see. Hold on. Scroll back up here a little bit. All right, let's see. Standard 10 says, I'm getting good viewers and chat on a small game, but how do I know when to move to a big game? Should I even move over to bigger games? So that kind of goes into things I said earlier where it's not a proven science. You just kind of got to wade through those waters. I would recommend maybe testing that game for a night. So like, let's say you're playing a game that's been getting you a lot of views. Maybe announce to those people that you're going to be trying out another game and see if the people watching the game that you're currently doing would be interested in coming out to that stream. And then just try that game for one night and see how it goes. That's what I did with creative streams. As a graphic designer, I decided to start every once in a while sharing my process of creating the different designs that I do. And I said, hey, I'm just going to do this like kind of once in a blue moon to see how people feel about it. And that was how I tested the waters with that. So that would be what I recommend as far as trying to decide whether or not to move over to a different game. I mean, honestly, I'm a variety streamer, so you know, I just jump back and forth. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll go onto Twitter and say, like, I'll give a list of games that I'm interested in playing and say, hey, which game would you guys be interested in watching the most? And then have them vote on it, and then that gives you the next game that you can play. I think one of our community members was actually talking about that the other day at dinner or something like that. Oh, you know what? It was this morning, I think. But anyway, that's a good strategy as well. Let's see. What else do we got here? Let's see. Trying to find another good question here to kind of wrap things up.
I have a good question if you can't find one.
Okay. I'll tell you what, give me your question while I'm scrolling here.
Yes. How much outside of actual streaming do you spend weekly doing the other stuff, the business end of streaming? And how much production assistance do you get in this?
Well, obviously my sponsor helps me out with a lot of things. You know, they get me, obviously they invited me here, so that was a big step of self-promotion. They've got me on podcasts and stuff like that. So that's, if you can get a community or a sponsor that can help you out with those things, that'll be key. As far as how often to do it, I do it all the time. I have so my schedule is crazy. I have a full-time job that I work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. I come home, I'm still with my parents because my dad is sick, so I come home and I make sure that I'm available to kind of help out with that. Then I hit the gym for a couple hours. Then I stream, and I stream till midnight. So it's, I mean, that's a lot in a day. And any free time that I get, I try to hop onto social media and stuff of that nature and either do the research or post stuff. I mean, it's not really something that you set out time to do, in my opinion. I know people that handle it like that, but I would say just constant. I mean, if something you're truly passionate about, I feel like you're constantly looking at it anyway. So just any free chance you get, you should be working on it.
But in terms of like the time split, what would you say is the percentage of your time spent actually doing like the other stuff as opposed to the actual streaming? Think of it.
I would say on a scale of 100%, it would probably be around 60-40. 60 being promotion, 40 being the actual streaming. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Awesome. Okay. I'm actually going to take some more questions from you guys here to wrap it up. We've got 5 minutes, so I'll take 2 more questions from somebody that I haven't called on yet. Right here.
How would you recommend balancing a variety streamer's content?
that is something that I am still kind of working with. I am completely random. So I typically announce through Twitter or something like that what game I'm going to be playing at any given night, but sometimes it's just random. Like there's been times where I'm like, hey, I'm going to play Battlefront 2 tonight because I feel like getting back into Star Wars. And then all my buddies are like, hey, let's play some PUBG. And I'm like, so we're playing PUBG tonight. Yeah. I know that I told you guys Star Wars, but I mean, this is kind of like Star Wars without the space part. So, you know, it's a little bit random. You can definitely set up a schedule. Like, let's say maybe instead of thinking about individual games, think about genres. So, like, say, hey, I'm a variety streamer. This is my schedule for the week. Mondays, I'm going to be doing shooters. Tuesdays, I'm going to be doing RTSs. Wednesdays, so on and so forth throughout the week. And then people know what kind of game to expect any day of the week that they come and see you. Does that work? All right. Somebody that I have not called on, I think back here, and you're going to be the last one.
I'm just going to ask, what would you suggest if you're struggling to find time because you're still in school or you're working or something along those lines? Like manage your time so that you have enough consistent time to stream?
I would say do the absolute best you can, and I'm going to go into more detail, so that's not my full answer. When I first started streaming, that was my problem. I didn't have a set schedule. Try to do your best to like narrow down some times. Like say, hey, I'm going to stream. I can only stream 2 or 3 days a week. Don't give them a time. Just say, hey, I'm going to stream on these days for times. Follow me on Twitter. And then that way you can announce on Twitter, hey, I'm going to be going live today at 10 a.m. or hey, I'm going to be going live today at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Try doing it that way, and then eventually you'll start working out how to balance everything on your side to where you can get an actual schedule. So like for me before, I was only able to do a couple times a week, and then eventually I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I don't need sleep. And so I did 9:30 to midnight, and sometimes I go into 1 o'clock, and that's just how my schedule is set up. I'm like the late night crew. So it's something that you gotta kind of, again, it's another thing that's not a proven science. You gotta wade through it a little bit, but I would say start with days and worry less about the times and use your social media as a tool to announce to your viewers when you're gonna be streaming. All right, I think that is we got 2 minutes here, but I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. That has been everything that I wanted to share with you guys. I definitely appreciate everybody coming out. It's been awesome to have a full room. Everybody that was online watching, thank you. I'll probably be seeing you guys later with some more content through True Gaming. Yeah, that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the con, and good luck to all your channels. Take care.